In this video, I show you how the self-hosted crypto gateway from Nexis works and is managed. If you're looking for a solution to accept crypto payments or donations directly into your wallets without an intermediary, this is what you need. On our channel, you can find a video about how everything is set up, from purchasing a domain and renting a server to the full installation itself. Everything is very simple and quick. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how the system works. The control panel, the built-in donation page, the checkout flow, and the API. We'll tweak the settings and run a few test payments to see it all in action. All the functionality that I will talk about and show is described in the documentation, so if something is not clear, just open the documentation. Well, let's get started. The gateway is already installed and running, so let's jump straight into the Quick Start menu. It recommends Solana, which makes sense. No API key needed, it connects directly to the node. But I'll use the Tiaron network and its Shasta testnet instead. It requires an API key, and that's exactly what I want to demonstrate here. Go to the TronGrid website and log in. I already have an account. You'll need to register. Click Create API Key, enter a name, and create it. Now we have an API key for interacting with the TronGrid API. In 99% of cases, the free API is sufficient for full functionality. It might only be insufficient if you have thousands of orders per day on the Tron network. To send transactions, I will use the TronLink wallet, specifically its browser extension. Now that we have the extension installed with an imported empty wallet, let's configure it for the Shasta test network. Open the network settings and enable test networks. Now in the upper right corner, I switch the network to Shasta testnet. The final step in the preparation phase is to receive test coins on the Shasta network. There's a link to the faucet in the documentation. Follow the link and go to the faucet page. I paste my wallet address and request native Tron tokens, as well as test USDT tokens. Time to check if everything arrived. Excellent. The native coins are there. I'll also add USDT for display. So everything is ready to start. Now let's head over to the Telegram bot using our admin account, hit registration, and get access to the full control menu. Registration is successful. Now we see a list of available commands. The functionality of all these commands is available in our control panel, so let's go there. Click on the dashboard command and then on the button that appears. The mini application offers to set the interface language and time zone. The app can be expanded to your desired size and can be easily opened from a mobile device. Everything will work just like on a computer. We're now on the page with a list of payments and donations. Let's start with the global settings page. So, at the top of the page, we see the interface language and time zone settings. While the language is clear, the time zone is important for displaying statistics corresponding to your time zone. Below that, you'll find the mode switcher. Currently, we're in testnet mode. There's only one difference between these modes. In testnet mode, all blockchains are running and monitoring transactions on testnets, while in mainnet mode, they're running on mainnet networks. Next is the block with the API key. It's needed for interacting with the API. We'll see it a little later when we interact with the API. Moving on to notifications. And there are two types worth setting up. Info notifications will alert you in Telegram whenever there's an error or warning in the system. Payment notifications fire every time a payment or donation comes in successfully. Down below is the payment monitoring time. This is how long the system gives the payer to complete the payment before the order expires. I'll change this to 5 minutes. As you can see, the session expired and we're logged out. This is normal. Below that is the session lifetime setting. I reopen our mini app and set up the order lifetime again, as the previous changes threw us offline and didn't apply. Now let's set the session lifetime. A session begins when you open the mini app. A few seconds ago, you saw what happens when it expires. I'll reopen the application so that the session works with the new settings. Next, set up backups. This is a very important setting, as the backup is sent directly to your Telegram account. This way, if anything happens to the server, you'll have a backup of all your data. So be sure to set up daily backups. For security, you can set a password for the backup archive. We can also request an instant backup, which is what I'll do. Now let's look at the bot chat and see the backup archive. Return to the application and proceed to setting up the mnemonic phrase generation. The default value is 24 words, so I'll leave it at that. There's also a very important setting here. Sending the seed phrase to Telegram. If this is enabled when generating a wallet, the seed phrase won't be saved to the database, but will be sent directly to the Telegram bot. You can also set a password for the archive. Although the seed phrase is stored encrypted in the database for maximum security, you can enable sending to Telegram. It's up to you. Moving on to the IP limiter. This setting is useful for protecting against spam attacks when creating orders. Currently, it's configured to allow orders from a single IP address to be created no more than 10 times per minute. Adjust this to your preference. Next, the CORS setting. Although it's not very difficult to bypass, this setting exists. You can add a list of trusted sites for interaction with the API. Let's move on to the section on setting up callbacks. This is very useful if you're integrating the gateway into your project. We'll test it live a little later. For security, you can sign the callback with an HMAC signature. Moving on to the CoinGecko API settings. Requests to this API are made to parse token prices. For example, we might add a meme coin to enable payment. It's also needed to add these tokens. This is the main requirement for adding tokens to the system if we're talking about mainnet. If a token doesn't exist on CoinGecko, it won't be possible to add it. In 99% of cases, we don't need an API key, but if you have a lot of tokens, register one for free. With an API key, you can send 5 times more requests than without one. The last setting in this route is the number of simultaneous connections to our mini app. The maximum allowed is 10. A better solution is to set it to 2, so you can access it from a PC and simultaneously from a phone. We're done with the global settings. Now let's configure the built-in donation page. Although our gateway is designed more for payments, we also have ready-made functionality for accepting donations. When we open our gateway's main page, we see a page for accepting donations. Currently, we see a message that the system is disabled. This is normal, as we haven't enabled any blockchains yet. Time to fix that. Return to the app and go to the network settings page. We'll need the API key we generated earlier on the TronGrid website. We insert the key and confirm. The connection is successful. Now we can enable the Tron network and its native coin. This means we can create orders on the Tron network, and payments will only be available in the native coin for now. I also include the Solana network and use it as an example to show how you can change the number of confirmations that the system needs to count in order to mark a payment as successful. The networks are turned on. I reload the donation page and now everything works. Although the product is more focused on accepting payments, donations are an additional option. The current donation page can be customized, which is what we'll do now. Open the donation page route in the app. We can set a name, nickname, and description. We can also change the page title in the browser. Before applying, you can see how it will look in the preview. I set the values and save. We refresh the donations page and see that our changes have been applied. We can also change the avatar, favicon icon, and add social links. For example, I'll add a link to our YouTube channel. I add it, look at the preview, and save. I reload the donation page again, and we see that the badge with the link has appeared. You can use ready-made badges for social networks or customize your own. Let's disable the link for now and return to the donations page to create our first order in the system. It will now be marked as a donation since we'll create it from the donations page. So I enter the amount and click the Send Donation button. Excellent, we are redirected to the payment page. While our donation is being monitored, let's talk about what happened in our system when we clicked the Send Donation button. When a new order arrives, the system selects the first available wallet for the requested network. Available means it's not currently awaiting payment on that network. Once selected, the wallet is marked as busy on that network. Here's the cool part. The same wallet can process orders on different networks simultaneously. So if a wallet is busy awaiting payment on Ethereum, it can still accept a new order on BSC or Arbitrum. This keeps the pool small and efficient. If there are no wallets or all wallets in the pool are busy on the requested network, the system instantly creates a new seed phrase with its own wallet group, takes the wallet for the desired network, and assigns it. The pool grows automatically based on demand. Once a wallet is assigned, the system tracks the incoming payment on the blockchain. When the funds are received and confirmed, the order is marked as paid, and the wallet becomes available again for new orders. After opening the app, we now see a payment with a pending status. Since we didn't have any wallets, a seed phrase was generated with a wallet pool and a wallet was assigned. Let's look at what actions we can perform with our seed phrase and wallets. We have quick buttons for viewing seed phrase details, blocking the seed phrase, and exporting it to Telegram. In the Detailed Overview menu, we have the same blocking option. We'll look at its purpose a little later. We see a list of addresses and a section with balances, which are currently 0. There's also a button to export the wallet. Click it. We see that the wallet has been successfully exported to our bot. Open the file and see the seed phrase belonging to these wallets. We'll finish with the wallet menu for now, but we'll come back here when we change the seed phrase storage settings and have wallets with balances. Let's now go to the Statistics page, where we see statistical information and can select filters by time ranges. Currently, we have 1 unpaid donation. Let's move on to the currency and token settings route. By default, we only have 1 currency, USD. Let's add a couple more. There's only 1 requirement for adding a currency. It must have a trading pair with USDT on Binance. Otherwise, it won't be possible to add it. We can also specify the minimum and maximum limits for creating orders using these currencies. Now, let's go to the Tokens tab. Here we can add tokens to the system to be able to pay for orders with them. To add a token, 2 conditions must be met. The token's smart contract must exist on the blockchain, and the token must be listed on CoinGecko with a USD price. This ensures the system can always calculate the correct payment amount. Stablecoins are an exception. They skip the price check, since their value is pegged to the dollar. I opened the TronLink wallet to copy the contract address of our USDT on the Shasta test network. Now I'll add it to the system. Select a blockchain, enter the ticker, paste the token contract address, and it's crucial to mark it as a stablecoin. Excellent. Now I'll head back to the donations page to verify everything we added has appeared. Let's close the expired donation, refresh the page, and check. Select the Tron blockchain, and we can now pay not only in the native coin, but also in the USDT token. We also check the list of currencies. All the currencies we added are listed. It's time to interact with the API. Everything is described on the documentation page, and now we'll walk through all the API routes in practice. I'll be using Bruno as the API client. Let's create a simple order using the API. To create an order, you need to specify 5 required parameters: amount, chain, API key, currency, and ticker. As you saw earlier, the API key is located in the Global Application settings. I'll use one of the currencies we've added as the currency, and for now we'll use the native coin TRX for the ticker. We try to create our order, and we see a response indicating successful creation with the order details. Let's check the order list in the app, and now we have 2 orders. Our new order isn't marked as a donation. Now we'll look at the response from another API route, namely the route that provides information about an order by its ID. We only need to pass the ID as a parameter. So, I copy the ID of the order we created earlier and send the request. Great, we see a successful response with details. We have 1 more API route left. It should return a list of available currencies, blockchains, tokens, and native coins. Let's test it as well. It only requires an API key as a parameter. This route will be very useful for those who want to create their own payment form. We currently only have 1 wallet group generated in the system. I'd like to go back to the seed phrase generation settings and enable sending the seed phrase to us via Telegram instead of storing it in the database. Let's return to the Bruno API client and create 2 orders in a row with the same chain and ticker. The orders are created. Let's return to the app and look at the list of wallets. We now have 2 wallet groups. The seed phrase for the first group is stored in the database, and the seed phrase for the second was sent to us via Telegram. Let's open a chat with our bot and see that we've received an archive containing the seed phrase. In this case, we need to be very careful, as we no longer have the seed phrase in our database. If we lose it, we'll lose access to our wallets. Now it's time to create an order and make payment. In addition to the ready-made page for donators, we also have a ready-made page for payments out of the box. We'll be using it. Create an order, copy its ID, and open our prepared page with the QR code for payment. If you watched closely, you probably noticed that the text on the form references donations rather than payments. This is an older version of the page. The current version has since been updated. Everything you see here still reflects how the payment flow works. We'll make the payment using the TronLink wallet. Copy the address, enter the amount, and send. Although we have a setting for the TR-on chain that requires only one network confirmation for the order payment to be determined as successful by our system, we are still working with a test network, and confirmations may take a little time compared to the mainnet network. Now that the transaction has been detected, all that's left is to wait for confirmation. I'll speed up the video at this point. Excellent. The order is marked as paid. Let's refresh the orders page in the app and see our successfully paid order. Also, if you remember, we have Telegram notifications enabled for successful payment. Go to the bot and see the notification. When we paid for our previous order, we transferred the exact amount. However, the system will also detect payments made in incomplete or overpaid amounts. I will create another order and will not pay for it in full. A partial payment has been detected, and we see a message asking us to transfer the remaining amount within the remaining period for full payment. As you already understand, payment can be made in multiple transactions. In this case, I'll simply wait until the timer expires after the order has been marked as partially paid. We haven't yet looked at how the callback and email functionality works, but it's important to note that in the case of a partial payment, they won't be sent. So, we now have a partially paid order. For unpaid or partially paid orders, we have the option to manually change their status. Returning to the Wallets page, we see that the second group has 1 token in its balance. Click on the details to view it. Now let's try withdrawing these funds. To do this, we first need to lock this wallet group so they won't be selected when creating new orders. The withdrawal button will now be available. Let's withdraw some of the funds. This isn't actually a direct on-chain withdrawal from the wallet. We need to withdraw funds manually. We can check in the Explorer that everything is in place. The balance display is essentially just a reference point for how much funds are in the wallets. Even if we change the values by withdrawing tokens and leave the funds in the wallet balance untouched, the next time we pay into this wallet using the same token we withdrew, the balance will sync with the actual on-chain balance. It's time to see how callback works. First, we need to enable it. Go to the global settings and enable it. We'll use webhook.site. Upon successful payment, our callback will be sent here. Just copy the link to which the callback should be sent. Open the API client. We need to add another parameter in which we will pass a link to the callback receiving service. I create an order with a callback link and pay for it. After successful confirmation, we return to webhook.site and see that our callback has been successfully received. We can also enable HMAC signatures to protect us from spoofed callbacks. The documentation describes this in detail with code examples. And the last thing we'll look at in this video is sending emails when creating and fulfilling an order. The documentation also describes everything, including how to quickly generate a template using AI. For testing, we will use mailtrap.io. They provide us with the opportunity to test everything for free. Log in, go down to the email sandbox block, and click the Start Testing button. And we see the SMTP authorization data. Enter the provided authorization data. Saving will create a test connection. If any of the authorization data is incorrect, an error will occur. The error is most likely due to the port. Let's try connecting to a different port, and I'll try each one in turn. The data was saved successfully, which means the login was successful, and we can now enable emails to be sent to the customer when an order is created and when it's successfully paid. I will not change the default email templates. It's time to create an order and pay for it. Now you need to pass the email as a parameter. If this value is missing or empty, the email will not be sent. And we see that the order creation email has arrived. As you can see, this time I created an order in USDT. Let's pay for this order to see if we receive a successful payment confirmation email. So, let's copy the ID and proceed with payment. This time, I'll also make an overpayment to demonstrate that the system processes payments correctly in such cases. I'd like to point out that, in our experience, it's very common for customers to underpay or overpay for orders. Well, we're waiting for our payment to be detected and confirmed. We return to mailtrap.io and check. As we can see, the email has arrived. It's time to summarize. In this video, we covered almost all of the app's functionality. Since product development is constantly evolving, it's possible that something may have changed or new functionality added by the time you watch the video. Therefore, be sure to check the documentation, as you'll find the most up-to-date information there. I'd also like to remind you that Nexis Gateway is more suitable for those who need to integrate cryptocurrency payments into their product. Although it does have built-in functionality for accepting donations, it's more focused on accepting payments. If you need a solution for accepting donations, we have another product, Nexis Alerts. We can also provide demo versions of both products for you to test. You can find all the links in the description of this video. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments or contact us using the contact information.